Hey, it's me, Polly. Today is Wednesday, and it was a pretty good day. I guess I've been struggling a little more the last few days. I feel like the intrusive thoughts, the PTSD intrusive thoughts, which I'm taking a medication for, have come back or are stronger right now. Really, especially the situation having to do with my arrest and everything that surrounded that. I don't know if I've talked about it in past stories, but I was arrested for drug possession 2 years ago, and I was not guilty. Well, technically I was guilty in that I had possession of my deceased father's medication, along with other things of his, because I was moving. But I did know I had them. It wasn't like they were just mixed in. But I also had them for a very specific reason that made a lot of sense to me, and didn't at all seem to factor into the thinking of the police when I was pulled over and they asked me if they could search my car, and I very, very, very stupidly said, sure, I don't have anything to hide. Well, I did have something to hide, but I didn't know that I had something to hide because I had no ill intent. I was doing nothing wrong apart from just having them in the car with me and not understanding that, we drive medicines home from the pharmacy all the time. We drive them to the doctor to be disposed of, or to the pharmacy to be disposed of. I had them in the car with me. I wasn't taking them. I didn't take them. But I had them for the express purpose of, in my mind, and understand that my mind is an autistic person's mind. I carried them with me. These were my dad's medications. One of them was an opiate pain medication, which was still a full bottle and was 11 years old. And he never took them, and the bottle was still full. At the time, we had like a box of medications that, you end up collecting up medications if you don't get them returned or whatever. Anyway, at the time I was taking my own pain medications for prescribed for very, very severe pain, and I was catching all kind of flack from my psychiatrist because he couldn't stand that I was taking a pain medication. He couldn't stand it. It's all he could talk about in my sessions, and those were prescribed by my my physician, my actual primary care physician, who was treating me for stomach problems and fibromyalgia and I have a significant and severe pain problem, or I did at the time, until he started putting me on medications to treat that problem once he diagnosed it. But before that, we didn't know what was, we didn't know what the problem was. He hadn't diagnosed it yet. We hadn't figured it out. So I was on pain medication, prescribed, and I always took it. I am not a criminal, and I take medication very carefully, and I take the precautions about not drinking and not taking too much very seriously. I've always been that way. Very responsible in that regard. But I was taking so much flack from my psychiatrist, and I was so afraid that he was going to leave me in this agonizing pain. I was so afraid he was just going to have them pulled because of his own belief that nobody could be taking them and not abusing them, I guess. There's a real attitude out there in the medical industry that because a lot of people abuse medication, they should treat everybody like they abuse it. And that's not right. That is not right, because some people, like myself, some people are very, very, very careful with it. Very honorable, honest with it. Very responsible with it. And, you know, to do everything right and then be punished because of other people, and to be punished in a way that you couldn't possibly stand to exist, to live. I mean, he threatened my life in the sense that if he had my pain medication taken away before I had a diagnosis of what was causing the pain and was treated for it. I mean, there was a period of time where I was trying to figure out, I thought that I only had 2 weeks and I was going to have to kill myself. I mean, I really believed I was going to have to kill myself because I got caught with those medications, which I carried around on purpose, thinking, you know, it's 11 years old, it's a full bottle, and thus this proves that I don't abuse medication, or I would have taken them, you know, any time within the last 11 years that, you know, they were around. That was my thinking. That made sense to me. I shouldn't have had to prove to him, because we had so many conversations about them. This is my psychiatrist, and again, he wasn't even the prescriber of the medications. My medical doctor prescribed them, and my psychiatrist just was interfering terribly. My psychiatrist just destroyed me. He destroyed me. And anyway, that whole thing was unfair, and I was arrested, which for me was so traumatic. I know a lot of people that just sort of bounce right back from something like that, and they laugh about it with their friends, and they swap stories about being in jail, and I'm not like that. I'm not like that. It was so traumatic for me. And it still is. It still is. And I didn't have my day in court. I was silenced by my lawyers. I had so much evidence and a note from my doctor that there's no way the judge would have. I had a violation of probation because as an autistic person, I could not meet the terms of my probation. I couldn't meet them. But I got a guardian. I actually enlisted a guardian to help me, and she did. Until we got into more than an argument. She ended up taking possession of my dog because I was in an AFC home for a time. She took possession of my dog. My dog, 3 years old, perfect health, 6 weeks in her house, and my dog dropped dead. My dog, my baby. And she never even said she was sorry, or she was sorry that I was suffering. I ordered an autopsy, and she took that as an accusation, and then it was just all-out war. She declared war on me, and then she quit reminding me about my probation, and I had all this documentation, and I mean tons of it, scads of it, from having tried to get help for problems with attention and memory, and as I still do today. I mean, there are times where I will isolate for months and withdraw from society and from, just from everything, almost withdrawing from consciousness. And I've never really been able to control that. That's why I'm so infrequent on here a lot of times, is I'm just in a state of withdrawal. So, I mean withdrawal. When I say withdrawal, I mean isolation withdrawal, I'm isolating. I've always been very sensitive, extremely sensitive, and I just can't cope a lot of times. I don't know, life is so painful, and it's so hard. Everything, not everything, but a lot of things are just, the daily living part of it is really hard for me. Stuff that other people do without even, thinking twice. That part is so hard for me. Driving sometimes, leaving the house. Anyway, I've been feeling the pain of that. Just, I really mean, I just feel like that broke my soul. It just, that whole thing, from the time my psychiatrist started harassing me, and he did that for a year and a half of him threatening me with having my pain be left unmanaged. And I just became depressed and more depressed and more depressed, which he blamed on the pain medication. My greater depression must be caused by my pain meds. No, it was caused by him harassing me. Finally, it got so bad that my primary care doctor had to write a note and fax it to them, and the note said, in a much more polite way, it said basically, leave her the fuck alone. Stop fucking with her medication. I'm her doctor. I prescribe those pain meds, and they're prescribed for a reason. And I don't want her to be reduced on the medication. I don't, thank you for taking care of her psychiatric, mental health or whatever, but you need to leave the medical stuff to me. And he sent that note. And about the same time, I quit seeing, well, no, even a little before that, I think, or a little after, somewhere around there, I quit seeing the doctor, the psychiatrist, I mean. I saw him in Meyer one day, and even before my brain recognized who he was, I just had this instinct. I wanted to kick the guy so hard in the nuts, or in the knee, both. I can't remember. I just had this instinct. I saw him and I wanted to kick him, because I feel like that guy really ruined my life. Maybe not permanently, if I can get out of this, this funk that I've been in, but that led to so many traumatic things. That itself was traumatic. It led to me carrying those medications around, which was documented. There was documentation by CMH that I would carry those medications around because I felt like I had to prove to people, because anybody see you taking an opiate medication, they'd even see that you were taking it and be like, why are you taking that? Why are you taking that medication? And they've already decided that just by the virtue of you taking it, you must be abusing it. I've run into that so many times. And they all just assume that I must be like every other person out there who abuses the medication. And I'm sure they think that about other people too who are innocent of it. It's so maddening, because I am so responsible with it. I always have been responsible with it. My pharmacy records and my doctor's, visits and everything, verify that 100%. My pharmacy records show that I never even filled it early. Oftentimes I wouldn't even fill it as often as I could. Anyway, this happened a few years ago, and I've been moving forward a little bit in the last year, but right now I feel this all coming back. I just feel it. It's resurfacing, and it's really been bothering me. And having a criminal record, having a criminal record when you're as much of a goody two-shoes as I am. I mean, really, I never, other than like speeding or something, I never broke the law, unless it was some little dumb law, you know. But I mean, I'm not a rebel. I'm not a criminal. I'm obsessive, actually, about trying to be good, because I was taught in my childhood and all through my adulthood that I'm bad, you know, by my family and then by other people. But even as a little kid, I was told how bad I was, and I've spent my life trying to prove that that's not true. That's not true. I'm trying to do everything right, trying to do everything just right, and in the end, it doesn't matter how good I was and how honest and how responsible, because, you know, professionals decide what they decide, you know, regardless of the evidence. If they want to say I'm a drug abuser, they'll say it, and they'll punish me for it too. That's why I was arrested. I was arrested because they decided that because I have them, I must be abusing them, or even taking them, because those were not even ones I was taking. They were just there to show that I could have taken them at any point and didn't. And I know that seems like a weird logic, but it was the only thing I could think of. I took those in to that psychiatrist to prove to him, look here, look at what I have access to. You know, if I was somebody who was just going to willy-nilly take opiate medication, those would be gone. I mean, they've been in my possession for 11 years. They're outdated, and they're still full. You know, I mean, that to me is logic, but the way they saw it, you have it, therefore you intended to use it in some negative way. In fact, they treated me like I was some kind of a drug kingpin, which is laughable to anybody who knows me, because the truth is I'm actually extremely, I have no street smarts whatsoever, nor any street experience. I don't have any experience with drinking or smoking or, you know, even cigarettes or drugs or anything like that. I don't have any. You know, I just don't. So, anyway, I used to take medication. I used to have that. They confiscated that medicine. By the way, you know, they confiscated that. They seized my car. And when they put you in jail, yes, you are treated as though you are guilty. The innocent until guilty thing, if that ever existed, it absolutely does not exist now. But I'll tell you one thing. I mean, just in the overnight, just in the one night I spent in jail, which was way too much for me, everybody could tell, everybody, including the staff, could tell that I was not somebody who would do that. I mean, I'm a dork. I'm a wimp. You know, I'm not a street person. I'm a naive. In this world, I am a naive person, you know. In fact, the way a lot of autistic people are. And that's just how I am, you know. It's just how I was, and partly how I was raised. But, so anyway, that's just been it. There's so much pain from all the accusations and all the punishment that went along with the accusations, and the fear that I had, and the permanent record that I now have. Feels like, you know, when it comes to cops, I mean, they're almost like terrorists here in our country these days. You not only can't trust them, you know, you can't trust them. Everybody they look at, they see as a suspect, everybody looks guilty to them, I think, and then they treat people here terribly. I mean, it's horrible the way they treat people. I mean, physically assault people, they kill people. I know I'm on a rampage here, or a rant. And, the way I was treated, it was just, they decided I was a drug abuser. They told me I was a drug abuser. And I knew I wasn't. But they decided I was, and they're like, well, you'll just have to go through the court system and straighten it out that way. Only there was no straightening it out, because I was never allowed to speak. I was never allowed to speak. I had a mountain of evidence that showed that because of my autism, there was no way I could meet the requirements of my probation as they were. And like I said, I had my guardian to do that, but she quit doing it after she killed my dog. Well, actually, after I got the autopsy, which she took as an accusation, she quit. And then I couldn't meet the terms of it. I couldn't do it. I physically could not do it. And I never had the chance to speak in court. In fact, I had all the documentation with me, including a note to the judge from my doctor. And I wasn't allowed to speak. My lawyers would not let me speak. And they would not let me bring my documentation forward. It was in that same room, in that very room where I had been sitting, and she told me I was not allowed to bring that forward. And I wasn't allowed to speak to the judge. She told me that it was already a done deal. He was just going to sentence me. But that wasn't true. That wasn't true at all. When I got up there, he gave me a chance to speak. And I couldn't. I couldn't. I needed the documentation, and I don't know. They decided ahead of time, though, they were going to just let my deferral go by the wayside. They told me that. They weren't going to, my lawyers, that they weren't going to pursue it. And I will never exactly understand why. That deferral meant an expungement of my record, because I'd never had any trouble with the law at all, ever. Ever. And now I've got this. It's a misdemeanor. They knocked it down to a misdemeanor because I'd never been in trouble. But it still prevents you from getting jobs, which when you're autistic you have a hard enough time doing anyway. I'm on disability right now. I want so badly to get off of disability. I don't know what I can do in a work situation, though, with this condition. There are things that I can do, and but to make money at them. I can solve cold cases, but I can't get paid for it. It's one of the most important things anybody could do, is to solve something and bring their deceased family member home, even murdered family member home, by being able to locate them. And I'm by far not the only person who can do that. It's just I'm good at it, because I'm really good at research and logic. Most of the time logic. But I can't get paid for it. I can't even get acknowledged for it. So anyway, I'm sort of just, I guess I'm just sort of griping, but I just feel, my soul feels just empty from all that happened, and from that arrest, and from being silenced in court, and I can't stop thinking about it. People tell me to move forward, and then something else bad happens. Move forward, don't look back, and I've tried to do that for a long time, but you know what? All that stuff builds up. It builds up, and it eats away at you, and it's still eating away at me. And there's been nobody willing to help me communicate with the court. Communication is something I suck at so bad. I'm not good at it at all, and I need help and a chance. I never had my day in court. never had a single opportunity at all to tell what actually happened. And I actually had a recording. I actually have a recording of that session in which I brought those medications in and presented them to my psychiatrist and said to him, if I was abusing medications, then I wouldn't have bottles of medication, opiate medication, that are 11 years old and still full. And that's why I carried them around, because I thought that worked. I thought that I finally got through to him, okay, maybe she actually is responsible with her medication. You know, my medical doctor can vouch for that, because I always have some left over, you know, or I did. Now I'm not on them now, but when I needed them, you know, there was always this threat hanging over me that I was going to be left, because I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and that can be absolutely beyond excruciating. Horrible, and just, it's not like a pain that just exists when you move. It's there all the time. It's there when you eat because you've eaten something, and it's there when you don't eat because you haven't eaten anything, and it's just an unbearable pain that's in your core. It's in your belly, and you can't ignore it, and it's just excruciating, and I couldn't live with it. I couldn't live with that pain. But I mean, that psychiatrist really screwed me up. He really screwed me up. And I'm trying to right this situation somehow. I'm trying to get some justice over that. I want the judge to hear my case. He never did. He never got to. I want the judge to hear my case. I've never been able to present it to him because I do need somebody to help me with that. I can't communicate well without people helping me in a situation like that at all. I mean, in the courtroom, when he did tell me I could speak and I didn't have my material, I started to speak, and basically all I got out was my psychiatrist, and then I paused, and he said, I'm sure your psychiatrist is just trying to be helpful, you know, and that's another thing. I mean, the professionals are always the ones who are believed. The patients or the alleged criminal is never believed when they, you know, you're never believed. I mean, they're always going to believe the professional. The professional never does anything wrong. You know, I'm sure your psychiatrist was just being helpful. And he didn't even know what my psychiatrist had done and how much he had damaged me and traumatized me and left me so fearful of living that I actually had a suicide plan, which was caused by my psychiatrist. How warped is that? That is bad. Anyway, I mean, I think that's it. It's just like that pain is just radiating back out of me again, or in me, and it's really been bothering me again the last few days. I don't know, maybe I'm hormonal again. I get hormonal and my emotions just go. So, but I really want my voice. I really want to have a voice and to be heard by the judge. I want to be heard. I want somebody to know what really happened, because I did everything right. You know, everything right as I could. I mean, when I had trouble meeting the conditions of my probation and my guardian quit doing her job, I sought help from numerous other places and numerous other people, and a roadblock was always thrown up in my path. I even got the testing place to call me the morning I had to go in, and it was a last-minute call, so it wasn't like it was cheating. You know, it would be like just in the last hour, but you know, for somebody with memory problems and attention and consciousness problems. So they agreed to do that, and I told my PO, which I hadn't, but I mentioned it to her, and she called them and told them, I don't want you doing that. I want Polly to have to remember on her own. I don't get that. I mean, why does my memory have anything to do with it? Why do I have to remember? Don't I just have to be sober and not drugged up with anything? Why do I also have to have a good memory? Because I don't. I have a shitty memory, and I always have. So, you know, it just seemed like I couldn't catch a break. And so I ended up missing a couple. Because you have to call in every single day, every single morning. And I don't even, you know, like, I withdraw, I isolate. And I'm not even aware, a lot of times, of my outside world. There's no way I could ever have kept that up. But, I mean, I did try. I tried my best. So, I guess I'm gonna go. Sorry, I know I'm griping. I just don't think I can get over this. It's not, without having tried, you know, without having ever had the chance to have my voice heard, it just eats away at my soul so badly, just so wounding. Anyway, so hopefully, you know, I'll be on again sometime soon. I want to be more regular about vlogging, but, you know, again, it's a consciousness thing a lot of times. So, I guess that's it. Looks like we're at 32 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna close, and I'll see you again soon. Take care, and well, I'll see you. And wish me luck, please, because I can use it. I need some luck. Good luck. So, all right, thanks. Bye.